What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Scorching podcast. My name is Dylan Delaney, and I am here joined, as always, by my good friend Dave Furtado. How's it going today?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Outside from, of course, the events of Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Learn what a goaltend is, please.
Yeah, we'll get more into that in a little bit. Just today's show is just kind of wrapping up what we've seen over this past weekend. NBA is back in action after the long week of having to wait because of All Star festivities, which was actually, in my opinion, one of the better All Star weekends we've seen in a while. Definitely Saturday night was very, very interesting, but definitely want to dive right into the Celtics-Lakers game. Jayson Tatum's statement game, as I want to call it. He had 41 that night against LeBron, but
One of
apparently,
many
yes. But
in the last 2 weeks.
yeah, because I mean, he's had arguably his two best games against both these LA teams in the past, what, 2 weeks? Was it?
Yeah,
They
yeah. I
played
mean,
they
you
played the
cut
Clippers right before the
'cause
break.
the Clippers was the last game before the All Star break.
So unfortunately, that wasn't enough, or it should have been enough, but it wasn't because the
Should have been
Celtics.
enough for at least overtime.
Yeah, the Celtics kind of got hosed by the ref. And they ended up losing by two. LeBron hit that fadeaway jumper at the end of the game to kind of put them up at the end. But there's definitely a lot. Even if they lost, there's definitely a lot of positives to take away from that game. One being, Jayson Tatum is here, and he is now. I mean, I think it's safe to say we can call him if he's not a superstar, he's definitely one of the top rising stars now. Like he has to have that kind of imprint on him,
Yeah, I mean he's averaging pretty close to 30 and 10 for the month of February.
which is
So he's at
absolutely
29 and a half and just about 8 rebounds.
absolutely absurd numbers from JT.
And not to mention in the last 2 weeks he's gone out and outplayed Kawhi Leonard than LeBron.
And I want to say he's actually making his inside shots now too, which is might be the most impressive thing out of all of them.
He is. He's actually finishing at the rim. I love it.
With contact too, with contact,
He's
nonetheless.
embracing it. Honestly, he's kind of giant now, so he's seeking out the contact.
Yeah, I mean, especially the highlight I've been seeing a lot of is that fast break dunk where he just kind of rises up right over Danny Green, just yams it right home on him. Obviously, would have helped a little bit more if the Celtics to get some more bench production out of that game. Only 5 points combined by I think it was a three from Romeo Langford and then a two from Cantor maybe.
It was a three from Langford, two foul shots from Wanamaker, and a put back by Grant Williams.
And
I want to say.
I want to say I don't know if you saw I'm sure you saw the clip where Jeff Van Gundy was kind of calling out Romeo. It was like, "Oh, Romeo, art thy help," and he actually locked up LeBron, but then LeBron got the ball
He
back.
did. LeBron made one of the kind of low key craziest plays of that game, and he drove in on Langford, went up for the layup. Langford blocked the shot.
Yeah,
LeBron was able to regather the ball in midair and then get the shot up again and make it,
which is more just like LeBron
which
is.
was just outrageous.
LeBron's just more advanced species than anything at that point. But
Yeah, there was nothing really that Langford did wrong. Williams had 4.
oh, we had
Langford
4,
had 5. So Langford hit another
2.
basket. Yeah, he might have free throws, honestly. I don't even know.
Still not enough though. I mean, when you consider
He did. He
that
missed
this,
both his free throws. Yeah, that's right. Grant Williams had a putback, and then he had two foul shots at the end of the game because LeBron fouled him before Tatum could get the ball to take a 3 to tie the game.
and when you consider what the rest of the bench kind of contributed to that, it's just still just overall lackluster.
And they're just not, honestly, at this point, they're just not even getting the minutes. I mean, you look, I'll go down the line at the box score in front of me. Hayward played 39, Tatum played 36, Tice played 31, Brown played 38, Smart played 35. Those are your 5 starters.
Right.
Then you got Ogilvy was, I think, first off the bench with 6 minutes. Then you have Wanamaker played 18, Cantor played 5, Langford played 15, and Grant Williams played 13. So honestly, outside, you had 2 guys that were, they're supposed to be rotational pieces on this team, and they played a combined 11 minutes.
And those being Cantor and who's a
And Ogilvy.
Ojale, yeah, my bad. But Romeo had 15 though. With Romeo, he's been getting a lot more time as the year goes on. Now he's starting to become one of those first guys off the bench, which is good.
Yeah,
He
honestly looks a lot like Jaylen Brown did his rookie year.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad to see that. Because not a lot of people were very high on Langford coming out of college, but
Myself included.
Right, but if you look what he did in high school, you can see like slowly he's starting to incorporate a little bit more of what he's shown in the past on the professional level, especially the pull up three, even the pull up three against Lakers. That was still a really nice developmental play, something that he can definitely build off of.
Yeah, he's gonna be fine. I'm not super concerned.
It's just at
I
the
just
point that they're
the
going to
only
keep him.
part the reason I was like kind of amped when they drafted him is because I just wanted them to pick other people at that spot.
Right, and some of those people that
Off
they
Brandon
could have,
Clark,
yeah,
cough.
and yeah,
Kids
cough cough,
15 points.
they could have had him, who's arguably producing at a much more effective rate right now than Romeo Langford, but that's also
His roles are
because
also way
yeah,
different.
he's
So I mean,
also he's
it's kind of
also
apples and oranges, but
right, and the thing with Romeo is that he's also roadblocked by so many people at that position, where
yeah,
it's you don't
exactly.
know, is he going to be really a long term piece for this team, or is he just going to be a guy that they can flip for something in the future, or like if they need to
Yeah,
get another big man or something like that.
right. And I think that's something that you're gonna find out this summer, and when we see what Hayward does, whether he comes back or he leaves. Because honestly, that's kind of what's roadblocking him right now is Hayward still being on the team.
Right,
So if
right.
Langford's gonna, I mean, he's different positions, a two guard, but
Yeah,
if Hayward leaves, everybody slides down one, and now that two guard spot's open because Jalen's probably gonna be playing the three.
yeah, and realistically either Langford or Jalen could probably play the two or the three if
Yeah,
they want to
it's a
insert one
Brad
in there.
Stevens team anyway, so nobody's playing a position. He's just gonna have Kemba out there with a center and then three wings, and it
Yeah,
really doesn't matter.
yeah, and Tatum at this point he's big enough where he can guard those power forwards down low too, as long as it's nothing like actually egregious to go up against as far as comparison goes. But he's big enough where he can hang around with everybody else down low. So,
Yeah, no, definitely.
but definitely something that you can build off of as far as a Jason Tatum fan can go. Like that's probably the best game of his career. Maybe the Clippers game, but like on that stage where you're in LA on the road, we had what 37 after the third quarter. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah. He and those the second and the third quarters were his best. He had I think 37 of the no 35 of the um 41 36 36. That's what it was.
it's in for me.
Yeah, not my thing. But 36 out of his 41 points came in the second and third quarters.
And with him, it's just all about getting to his spot too. Once he gets to his spot, he's automatic. That's what I've
Yeah,
been seeing.
absolutely.
Like he's like, especially in that game, I was going back and just watching the highlights of all of his shot attempts, and a lot of it is just off ball movement, just trying to getting to that spot that he wants to get to and pulling up
Right.
from
And one
whether
thing
it's
that I've noticed
yeah
about Tatum is his handle is so much better than it was even like 2 weeks ago. It's
right
just tighter to his body. Like, before he had the handle and, he tried different stuff, different things. And, he can do a lot with the ball, but he would just leave it out too much.
and it was easy to
And,
get
and he was losing the
pickpocketed.
dribble a lot of times. He was getting, balls tipped, steals, like all that kind of stuff. Just because he wasn't keeping the dribble tight. And he's kind of fixed that in the last couple of weeks. That's made so much of a difference because he's having such an easier time getting to the hoop now because now he's pulling all sorts of different stuff out as he drives.
Right, right. So it's definitely it's less of he's not gonna get the ball stripped from him as much either, especially where he's playing in an Eastern Conference where he's going to be guarded by a lot of good on-ball defenders like a Jimmy Butler, a Matisse Thybulle, even Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you have Chris Middleton, either one of those guys, like he's going up against a lot of like premier defenders too. So the fact that he's
Right.
able to kind of like get this down pat now before the playoffs is that could be huge for them down the line where he'll be that guy that can go and create his own shot along with Kemba.
Yeah, and he's also taking a lot more free throws too. He had 15 foul shots yesterday. He's getting to the line a ton
We love to
over the
see that.
last couple of weeks. Since honestly, it's he was playing really well. He was starting to piece it together a little bit. Still kind of lacking that consistency. And then after he got named to the All-Star team, it's been I think the worst game he's had has been like 20 points.
Yeah, that's like that. Oh, I'm an all star now. No, it's like I got to really start playing like one, and then now he's playing like all NBA level, like
Yeah,
arguably.
exactly.
Like
And
I've
one
seen.
other thing while we're on the topic of the Celtics
Yeah.
is Daniel Tice the last two games has been unreal.
Yes, Tice has
So
been great.
he had against Minnesota on Friday night. He had it was like 25 and 16 or something like that.
He
25
had career
points,
highs
16
of both of them,
rebounds,
right? Yeah,
and a
he had
block.
25 and 16.
Yep, 25 and 16 on Friday, and then he had 16 and 9 yesterday.
So it's good they didn't have to make any sort of deadline moves because he's fine. Like
he's been really good all year.
Yeah.
He's kind of been that Al Horford that they, like he's filled the same role where he's not really stuffing the stat sheet, but he's just been so consistent. He does the little things, like, he's taking charges. Like he took it was kind of a questionable call, but he took a charge from LeBron in the middle of that game yesterday. That was pretty big at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just making the right plays.
Yeah,
I hope the refs kind of start to see that, because I've never seen somebody get called for as many ticky-tack fouls as Daniel Tice.
Yeah, I'm with you. And
this guy just gets victimized every night. It's like at least like one or two. Like some, he fouls out a fair amount, or he gets to 5 pretty much every night. But like out of the 5 or the 6 in some cases, maybe like 2 of them are like real fouls, maybe 3 depending on the night. But like he gets a solid 2 or 3 each game that are just like you look at and you're like, what?
Yeah. While we're on the topic of that, I don't want to be like a whiny complainer or anything like that. But obviously after the game on Sunday again between the Lakers and the Celtics, and clear as day, you could have somebody literally who's watching on your TV call a better game than the refs at that point with how egregious some of those are.
They screwed up 2 out of the 3 goaltending calls.
Yeah. And one of them was like, I don't understand how you overturned that, because that's clearly
I
off the
believe it was Langford that took the shot, was ridiculous. And then they had the one towards the end of the game where I believe it was LeBron that went after the layup, got fouled, and Brown just kind of swatted the shot, but it had just grazed the backboard. So like technically, the play was over, but it was continuation. So technically that should have been a goaltend that they didn't call. So like that one is a little more kind of on the line, but it was probably a goaltend. It should, if you're going to go by the letter of the law, that's goaltend.
Right.
The one at the beginning of the game, it was like it bounced off the backboard, and it was like already like half foot away from the basket.
Did somebody say Damian Lillard? Did Damian Lillard just enter the chat?
It was honestly, the situation was way different. Obviously Lillard's was for a game winner or a game tire, but this was just as bad, if not worse, as far as like obvious just goaltend. I don't know how, and they called it a goaltend.
They did. They made the right.
And said change that, and they did.
Yeah, that's kind of the LeBron authority that he has, which is absolute BS. But from watching my Suns get hosed time after time after time this year, and if you scroll on my Twitter, shameless plug, we'll put at the end. It feels like it's at least a constant every single game in a close situation. We've lost at least 3 or 4 games, not to really bad play, but to a lot of just simply terrible calls. And I think that a lot of what we've been seeing this year is fans want refs to use their whistles more often, so they use them, but they use them on bad plays. And when the plays are supposed to be fouls, they don't call them because they're like, oh, we can't call them because we've been calling too many. So it's weird, but I think that the NBA has got to put something in place where they can change something over the summer to either make this more effective going forward, like make the calling of games more effective going forward, or find a way to penalize the referees who make those bad calls that are deciding the games. Because on a stage like that, you can't have referees decide the outcomes for you after 47 and a half minutes of play. Like that's not fair to anybody who's watching. That's not fair to anybody who's playing. It's not fair to the league itself. It's like right now it's not like it's a dark cloud, but it's something that could probably be easily fixed going into next season.
Yeah, honestly, it's just annoying at the end
of the day. It really
is.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a phenomenal game. It was exciting. It was back and forth, and then the last minute and 15 seconds took about half an hour.
Yeah.
Because they decided to start blowing the whistle every trip down the floor for something, and half the time they blow it and they're like, "Oh, I don't know why I did that." Like,
they just resign random foul to random player.
Yeah, they went and it kind of sucked. And this honestly, they even said it on the broadcast. It might have been an error on the scorekeeper, but they called the foul on. I believe the foul ended up going to Jaylen Brown, but they had initially called it on Tice, who was standing 5 feet away from the play.
Yeah.
And that would have been Tice's 6th. So now whether that was something the refs did or it was on the scorekeeper, it caused Brad Stevens to challenge the play. So at the very least, because it was pretty obviously a foul, but at the very least they switched the fouls so Tice can stay in the game.
Right, and that's more important.
Yeah, so Brad does that. He loses the challenge, so he loses the timeout. They do move the foul to Jaylen Brown. Again, I don't know whose fault the Tice putting the foul on Tice was. But that, Stevens loses his timeout, and now at the end of the game, the Celtics have, 6 seconds left, and now they have to run the ball up the court, and it leads to a crappy final shot.
And, of course, another way you can look at it, too, especially with the goaltend, how many points did the Celtics lose by that game?
Oh, 2.
Where could those 2 points came into play? On the bad goaltending call? Maybe they could have came into play on that out-of-bounds call, which Jaylen Brown's foot was, clearly in bounds. Word to N'Keal Harry.
And it's not all on the refs. I mean, Gordon Hayward missed 2 wide-open layups. I mean, he was all by himself, less than a foot away from the basket, and he missed twice. So I mean, they're and the bench scored 11 points.
Yeah, so it's never all on the refs, but there were a
lot of things the Celtics could have and should have done differently or better.
But
it's just annoying to lose by 2 and then have something that would have put 2 points on the board so obviously messed up.
Yeah, and it's a point where it's not that's what it is with a lot of games. It's not exactly the refs' fault because yes, our team could have played a little bit better and we could have shot probably a little bit better from the field. But at the same time, you want to be able to say, hey, we could have had those points, but no, they blew the whistle. They either did or didn't blow the whistle, and we could have had free throws, or we could have had maybe a 3-pointer down the stretch or something like that would have changed the outcome of the game. It's all about some of those calls can just take momentum.
And it's going on for all 30 teams.
It really is, and I think it's even since a replay has been in effect, it's been worse because it's just showing the lackluster calls even more. It's because sometimes they'll go to the replay and they'll score even more. I think.
Yeah, you have a point. It is just highlighting it.
I mean, at this rate, I've seen I've seen the phrase L2M more this year than I have seen in any years in the past. It's been insanely common this year. The 2-minute report. It's what does that do? It's just going to make your fan base more angry because it just shows where the refs screwed up.
Now it's just the league. Oh yeah, no, we did screw that up.
But you don't have any sort of punishment for that though. You got to have something in place. If that's happening so many times where the league is oh yeah, we screwed up, sorry guys. That's not enough. What if that one call? What if the Portland Utah game? What if Portland misses the playoffs by a half a game? They could have had that.
That's something that's.
I
think that's a bridge. Cross it when you get there. But I see your point.
I mean, I have faith in Adam Silver because Adam Silver's a good commissioner. He's
the only one in sports apparently.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. I mean, baseball's kind of a joke, and then Roger Goodell is still there, but.
Wow.
But Adam Silver's a very forward type of person. He can analyze a problem and then do his best to try to fix it though. He's very good at that. So if this is something that they really want to fix, I think that he's the perfect guy to have around to make that decision. So I don't know. It's just annoying, especially after, and it's not even my team at that point. It wasn't even my team playing, and I was still annoyed.
Yeah, no, it's just you're just trying to watch a game and enjoy a fun, competitive game, and then the refs gotta swoop in and start being the fun police.
Yeah, no, we don't want a fun police. We just let them play. Act like it's like the Coliseum, and just let them fight to the death.
That would be honestly last 2 minutes, no fouls.
Just everyone's ripping each other's faces off. You just have people licking each other's blood like Tyson Fury.
Oh man, what a fight that was!
That was a really good fight. That was. I mean, it was kind of lopsided after the third round.
It was, yeah. He got his ass kicked.
I was hoping for.
That was a fun fight though.
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit something that went a little bit deeper, maybe 9-10 rounds, and be a little bit more competitive.
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty tired, so I was ready to go to bed. So I was kind of happy I didn't want to bed.
You're fine. The thing
I was over at a friend's house, so I had to drive home. I was like, I'm just trying to go to bed.
The thing that was funny was mostly everyone started singing afterwards. I'm just watching this, what is going on? A minute ago, everyone was just fighting, and now everyone's singing. I'm really confused.
Yep.
All right, back to basketball. We briefly mentioned Minnesota earlier, and I want to get back on the topic of them because, to be quite honest, they suck right now. Which, granted, Karl Anthony Towns I think is out for another 2 weeks or something like that at least.
Yeah, at
So
least get that. Was it like a broken hand?
they should kind of just throw the towel in this season. If I were them, you're not really competing for anything at this point. But one thing that makes me really believe that they have done a great job this season is their whole trade deadline. Like every game that passes by, they look like they're acing it even more and more. And I'm not even talking with D'Angelo
Bro, I
Russell at
told
this
you that
point.
was a good trade.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you doubted me, but I told you that was a good trade.
Oh, what, the D'Angelo Russell one?
Yeah, bring in D'Lo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Getting,
That was like I feel like that was like a win-win. I still feel like that part could backfire. I mean, it could because like they don't really have any defense still.
it depends on what they do over the summer. And the Malik Beasley trade that was a home run.
And that's where my point comes in. So I'm gonna go over Beasley's career like splits throughout each month, and obviously minutes played takes into effect, but we'll just go from each month. So in October he averaged 9.8 points in 20 minutes of play. In December he averaged 4.5 on 12 minutes. In January he averaged 7.3. Oh, I'm sorry. This is in December. In December, he averaged 7.3 on 16.5. In January, he averaged 9.2 and 21.6. And then in the 6 games that he's played so far, he's played 31 minutes and has averaged 19 points, 45% from the field, 41% from downtown, 5 rebounds a game, and about a steal a game too. Yeah. So this change of scenery is absolutely killing so far for the Timberwolves and Malik Beasley. I'm glad he's finally getting a shot because I knew he was gonna be. I knew as soon as he was gonna get like reasonable minutes that he would be able to pull something like this off.
Yeah, no, I liked him in Denver. I thought he was a pretty good player.
Same here. He was one of my.
And now he's starting to get a little bit more opportunity. Not that he was really getting like shafted in Denver, but.
And you watched the game the other night, right?
Highlighted more because the team sucks.
Yeah, that's fair too. And right now, especially with because I don't think Russell played against Boston, right?
Yes.
But even still, Beasley's basically like the second or third scoring option right now on that team because no one else really.
I think Beasley was the high scorer for Minnesota against the Celtics. I'm proud of.
So in the game against Boston, he had 27. He was 10 for 18, and he was 4 from 8 from downtown.
Yeah, that's honestly ideal.
Yeah, like that's it. Like then, obviously they don't need him to be like a 20-point per game scorer or anything like that moving forward. But if you can get him to score like 15 points a game and just be that defensive factor, like if him and Josh Okogie can mold into like defensive factors on the other side, like that team could honestly be very good in the near future. And if Karl Anthony Towns wants to play defense too, because he just.
And I think I haven't really taken too deep of a look at the free agent class for next year. I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up now. But
yeah, I'll take a look at it too.
If they can just snag a couple of defense first guys for the bench, even that would be fine. And then draft somebody who can play a little defense.
And with Beasley, he's a restricted free agent this year too, so he's only bringing his market up. Like he's only gaining money at this point because he's restricted, so they're giving them no option but having to renew that guy's contract.
Yeah, and I think Minnesota they'll hold on to him. They didn't make that trade to let him walk in as a restricted free agent.
No, they're gonna have to. The same thing with probably Wanamaker and Gomez. Right now, the player who's got the most minutes played per game is Fred VanVleet, and he's a free agent next year.
Yeah, that's not somebody I would see as a fit for Minnesota. I think he's going to, A, either stay in Toronto, or B, there was a report or a rumor, I should say, in November that there was a team that would be willing to give him 28, 29 million in free agency.
That is the New York Knicks.
That's absolutely the New York Knicks. I can't think of another team. Listen, I like Fred VanVleet. He's a great player. But I'm not giving him a max or close to it. Come on.
There's only 2 players right now that I'm looking at this free agent class that I'm giving a max, and that is Anthony Davis and Brandon Ingram, and that's it.
Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I would debate giving Hayward one or close to it if I'm a team that can afford it. If I'm the Celtics, I'm not bringing him back on the max.
No.
If he opts out.
But if you're the Hawks.
If I'm I don't know, it's Joe Schmo team that kind of needs someone to build around.
Atlanta?
He's only going to be 31.
Atlanta?
Yeah, sure, Atlanta. Honestly, that's not even that bad.
I feel like that
Atlanta
just, but I
wants
feel
to
like with
toss in the max. It's probably not the worst thing in the world because he can pretty much have the same role he has with the Celtics right now. It might be a little bit elevated.
but I feel like Atlanta at the same time they got Cam Reddish and they got DeAndre Hunter right now, so I don't feel like it's very it makes a ton of sense for them.
It doesn't, but at the same time, I could also see Hayward being I think he'd be a good person to have around someone like Cam Reddish.
That's true. That's true. Some of these other defensive leaders, I'm just looking. A lot of them are guards. Honestly, Chris Dunn's a restricted free agent, so I don't know if I don't know what the Bulls' plans are because Kobe White's been playing exceptionally well as of late. D'Anthony Mellon's also a restricted free agent, and he's been playing really well this season. I'm just going by steals and blocks at this point. Otto Porter has a player option, but I'm assuming he's going to take that because he's not passing up on $26 million. Jay Crowder could be nice, like little off the bench.
I think he'd be a good fit for Minnesota.
I'm trying to see who else, like Chris Boucher or Boucher. I don't know how you pronounce his name, but he's a restricted. He's a restricted, and he'll get a nice little payday this summer too. He's only 27. Wow, Jeremy Grant would actually be really good for that team actually, because he's got a player option, and I don't think he'll take that. So he could very well.
Marcus Morris too, although he'll probably get. This is a weak ass class.
Marcus Morris is going back to the Knicks on a max. I'm convinced.
See, I thought that, but then they switched up the front office. So I don't know.
That's true. Those
talks, see that whole idea seemed to kind of turn to dust when they switched out the GMs.
That's true. Yeah. The new GMs are probably going to have something in place. Speaking of rookies, we were talking about this too. A lot of rookies, especially just out of the gate, have been playing really well to start off after the All-Star break. We were talking just recently, DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. And I know you were watching them the other night, and I was watching. I was watching the next day some of the footage of both of them, and I really, really was enjoying what I was watching from DeAndre Hunter, especially. He looked really well just driving to the basket. I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So I watched their game against Miami end of last week, and Trae Young dropped 50, but the two biggest shots of that game towards the end were DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish.
Yes. Cam Reddish is a trip and steal. That is the ultimate confidence booster for Cam Reddish.
He's a frustrating player because he has so much talent, and it's so apparent that he has so much talent. And he just doesn't use any of it. There's a lot of times out there where he just looks so lost and in over his head. But
he also is what? He's also 19
he makes
too.
Plays like that strip, and it's just you're like, okay, well now I get it. Like there's something here.
Yeah, there's definitely
gotta bring it out of him.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been seeing from him. Like, it's like 80% of the time he's just been very just frustrating to watch. But then there's that 20% where he's like, oh god, this guy's gonna be really good in the NBA.
He's had a couple of 20-point games, I believe. I know he had one. I feel like he's had a couple. But he's had a couple performances where it's just like you see it, and you see glimpses, and obviously he's still super young, so there's plenty of time for him to kind of figure it out, and especially on a team like Atlanta that. Honestly, probably still 2 years away.
Yeah, they'll probably be in contention. Yeah, but they're not going to be a threat or anything.
They're not a serious team next year. They're probably 2 years away from actually having to be concerned about if you're a top team in the East.
Can we call what Cameron Reddish has the Andrew Wiggins syndrome?
I guess a little bit. Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins, obviously Andrew Wiggins is a better player, but I think he had and I don't think that Cam Reddish had the same type of hype that Andrew Wiggins has had because, no one could really live up to that Maple Jordan hype.
But I feel like if Cam Reddish had not gone to Duke as part of that class, he would have had the same kind of hype, or it would have been similar.
Yeah, he would have had more. I think he would have had a lot more.
Huge coming out of high school, but he got overshadowed by Zion and RJ.
Right. Yeah, he was that third name coming out. And then obviously the college season happened, and then he had to take that major backseat to everybody else. Even Trey Jones too, because Trey Jones was still a big name coming out of that too.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, Atlanta's been fun.
Yeah,
and I love DeAndre Hunter.
Me too. I'm a huge fan of his game. I'm glad he's getting a lot of run now. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do in the future for their run because if it's gonna be interesting, especially with Capella now. They have like Hunter and they have John Collins. They have Clint Capella, Cam Reddish. Like they have just so many forwards now on that team.
You could run a big lineup where you play. So you put Trey at the 1, you put Trey Young at the 1, and then you run Cam Reddish at the 2, Hunter at the 3, Collins at the 4, Capella at the 5, and you just play big.
You could do that
because you can do that because Reddish and Hunter and Collins are all crazy athletic.
Right. And you still have Kevin Huerter,
so it's
too.
not like you're running out a bunch of lumbering idiots. Like, those guys can all play. They're all quick. They're all athletic.
Yeah, they're all like, and what Cam Reddish is like 6'8", but he's not strong. He's obviously not strong enough to hang with those bigger forwards or anything like that. But he'd be great for like hanging with like shooting guards and stuff like that. Like his size and like length would be unreal.
Yeah, no, he's a tough matchup for any kind of 2 guard.
It would be interesting because they have Huerter too, and I know they like to use. Then Herter's been balling too, so it'd be interesting to see what they want to do there.
Yeah, definitely.
A couple other rookies too. Kobe White. Kobe White's been on fire these last couple of games. He had 33 against Phoenix the other night, and I think he had 33 last night against Washington too. He's been.
I love Kobe White. He was probably one of, if not my absolute favorite player in this past class. I was really hoping that Kings pick would have been better for the Celtics, so they could have taken him.
Yeah, well,
but whatever. He's on the Bulls.
Yeah,
okay.
the Celtics have a guy named Kemba now, so they don't really need him.
He would have been nice little backup there. But no, that's going to be Kobe White. That's kind of not his team. Obviously, Levine's still there, but
he's getting there though.
He's starting to become that second guy.
Yeah, especially with what's Markkanen's hurt right now, but he's definitely taken a downfall this season. He's honestly probably getting dealt this summer. It would not surprise me at all. Yeah, that's
low-key Jim Boylan's fault. So
I can't wait for him to get out of there as a coach.
He's awful. He's awful.
If Zach LaVine has a problem with you, you can't be on that team. Like, you cannot be on that team if Zach LaVine has a problem with you. There's been 2 sequences in the past week.
He just has a problem with everybody, though. He seems like a grumpy guy.
I mean, I would be grumpy if Jim Boylan was my head coach.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm just talking historically. Like, even go back to when he got drafted.
Oh, yeah, it's true, because didn't he look, like, really pissed when the Timberwolves drafted him?
Yeah. He dropped an F-bomber, too.
Oh, yeah. He's like, shit, I have to go play up in Minnesota. Well, to be fair, he was used to playing in UCLA, where it's, like, nice and sunny.
Yeah,
and,
that's a fair point.
Beach, and now you got to go play in Minnesota. We're just cold.
Go from L.A. to Minneapolis.
That's tough. Also, I mean, I think we kind of obligatory to say that Zion Williamson is here now too.
The kid's a monster.
The kid's unreal. Just a couple of sequences last night against Golden State. Oh man, he's gonna be a problem. He is a problem. It's one of those things,
like, I feel like don't get me wrong. He's a beast, and he's going to be a beast.
Just please let his knees hold up.
Well, some of the stuff that's so impressive, like that play where he missed the free throw, got his rebound, missed the layup, and then ripped the ball away. That can all be prevented by just A, hitting your free throw,
fair,
or B, making the first layup. Like, I feel like a lot of his those impressive plays where he shows that like second bounce, it's just all like because he's missing like bunnies.
That's true. Yeah, and that's something that I think for the health of his own knees, he should probably try to hit some of those first chances so he doesn't have to go down and go back up again. That's fair. I actually haven't seen.
It is fun to watch him just kind of ragdoll these giant, like, experienced NBA
Yeah,
players.
he made Kevon Looney his bitch last night.
Like, he's just throwing around these guys. It's like they've been in the league a little bit. They're like in some I classify Kevon Looney as like a fairly physical player.
Yeah, he's especially with his time.
He's not some guy that you can just kind of shove around.
Right. So I'm actually just looking because I haven't really taken a good look at Zion Williamson's stats. He is averaging 23 points a game on 60% shooting. He's shooting 60%, aside from like a 5 for 19 showing against Milwaukee. Like that's actually insane. That's wild. This dude's a problem. I'm kind of like fanning out right now. This dude's actually a problem.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. If I had to pick, like, because I'll just play devil's advocate here. If I had to pick something, he's shooting 60% from the foul line.
I haven't looked, but I can check right now.
Which isn't exactly what you want to see.
Right, but then again, Giannis also shoots abysmal from the foul line. Look at him.
Yeah.
He was shooting 60.6. So you're basically hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at his basketball reference page right now.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
no, I'm not.
I
I
thought
can't
you
take
shot it.
credit.
I thought you
I
shot.
looked it up.
I thought you shot a nail on the head. I was like, damn.
No, it's the free throw percentage, and honestly, that's really the only complaint.
Because like he's not shooting threes because he's not like a 3-point shooter right now. But he doesn't have to be.
And I mean on the threes he is shooting about 41%, which is perfectly fine.
This
It's better than fine. It's actually good.
This man's middle name is Latif. That's awesome.
That's actually hilarious. What a middle name.
It's Zion Latif Williamson. That's gonna be like Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Zion Latif Williamson. That just has that ring to it.
That's a phenomenal name.
That just has that ring to it.
I guess, turnovers could be, he has, so for the season totals, he has, 29 turnovers to 27 assists.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you could work on a little bit. But I'm like really nitpicking here.
Yeah. Like his per 36 right now.
He's been nothing short of spectacular so far.
Yeah, his per 36 right now, he's averaging like 29 and 9. And he's 19 years old. Like he is literally younger than me and you. That's just wild. That is wild.
Yeah, I just want to I question what I'm doing with my life when I watch him play basketball.
Yeah, here we are recording a podcast, and Zion Williamson is absolutely just dogging like middle-aged men on national television.
Yep.
That's just the American dream right there at its finest. One more rookie that's been really playing well, and I've been thankfully he's like starting to really come into his own. Cam Johnson is proving a lot of people wrong now, and I love it because he's been spectacular for the Suns ever since the All-Star game. They haven't played obviously a lot, but like he just looks so much more confident with his shot, and he's starting to nail like moving jumpers, and he had that moment right before the All-Star game where he dunked on JaVale McGee. Like that, like the hip concerns I don't think really are there anymore. Like that's just talent coming out now, and it's definitely good that we have somebody else that we can semi-rely on the bench now because he's starting to get, I think, the most minutes basically out of anybody on the team off the bench. Maybe.
Yeah, honestly, so I haven't watched Phoenix a ton, but I'll take your word for it. I did just draft him on fantasy team in 2K.
Mm-hmm.
Bucket. He's like one of the last people off my bench, but he's kind of nice with it. So.
Yeah, he's a bucket. Like he's a bucket.
I also did give you, or not you specifically, but the Suns a ton of crap about that pick at 11. I thought it was a huge reach.
Oh, I thought it was too, but then
and honestly, I'll still stand by that for now.
Yeah, because looking at the people that were drafted behind, like it still could be considered one, but at the same time, I think it's more or less what they needed though too at the same time because we just needed 3-point shooting really badly. But in that case, we could have drafted Tyler Hero, so I don't know. But I'm not complaining because he's starting to play well. Like he's starting to really come into his own.
He's making you at least not hate the pick.
No, I never really hated the pick from the get. If he like busted his hip again, then I would hate the pick. But like he hasn't given me a reason to really hate it yet because he hasn't done really anything to piss me off. Like he's playing pretty good basketball, and especially from a rookie that's not getting a ton of run to begin with. Like I can't complain that much about him. Like he's doing well.
That's fair.
On the topic,
I wanted to bring up real quick.
Yeah.
The Detroit Pistons are a dumpster fire.
Yes, dumpster fire.
And I'll elaborate on that a little bit. So, I wrote something a couple months ago talking about how they just needed to commit to a rebuild already. It's been 10 years of just this middling nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm starting to get kind of personally annoyed with it because, I kind of have a slightly vested interest in the Pistons with Derrick Rose there.
And he's not even playing right now, right?
Yeah, he's playing, not very well. He's hit a little rough patch. But anyway, so, I wrote something. I was like, they just need to commit. And I was like, they have Sekou, and seems like, he's shown flashes of being a guy that you can build around. And then he's also shown flashes of being awful at the same time. But,
yeah.
So they took my advice, and they decided to trade Andre Drummond.
Good.
And
got nothing.
They got rid of these guys. I was like, you got to unload Drummond. I was like, you got to get rid of Morris, Reggie Jackson. I was like, get rid of these guys because there's just no point in having those kind of players on a team where you're trying to rebuild, especially Drummond, where you have a guy like Christian Wood behind him. So what do? They trade Drummond for Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a second-round pick, and then buy out Reggie Jackson and Markieff Morris.
So for those three players, all they have to show for it is Brandon Knight, John Henson, and a second-round pick.
Yeah, it's kind of pathetic.
How do you screw it up that badly?
And it wasn't like they waited till like the last minute too for Drummond.
And you still have Derrick Rose on your roster. And I know that, the trade market for him basically evaporated when he busted up his hip right before the deadline. But you're telling me you couldn't get anything for him?
Not even like a first.
And it's kind of backfiring. I mean, I guess I can see the logic at the time. Okay, he hurt himself, but he's having a phenomenal season, probably the best season he's had since he won the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, let him play out the season here. They have him next year under contract, so we can flip him in the summer.
Flip him for a draft pick.
And we'll still get that. We can probably maybe get more, or get at least equal value. And we have someone who makes our team worth watching for the second half. That has not happened. Derrick Rose has been nothing short of a disaster for about a week and a half now. Like that little bit right before the break, and then after, he's just been just awful.
Yeah, and so just shooting himself in the foot,
completely blowing up in their face.
Right.
And I hate that because I'm a huge Derrick Rose fan, so it sucks when for me when he's just playing bad because I hate to see that. But he's been terrible.
Oh yeah.
Since the break, and it's just everything's blowing up in front of the Pistons.
The thing that really pisses me off about the Pistons right now is that their best player is coming off the bench.
Yeah, why aren't they starting Christian Wood?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know. And he's it's funny because they won't start him, but then he'll come in and he'll drop 28 points and 10 rebounds. Oh yeah, you probably should have started him beforehand, right? No. That makes no sense. He's right now probably the only bright spot on that team. I can't think of another is Luke Kennard playing right now?
I think so. I'll tell you, the players that I like on that team honestly shouldn't even be on this. Christian Wood, okay, young player. I think you can, start to build a little bit around him.
But he's a free agent next year, though.
I think I like Sekou a lot, probably more than a lot of people do.
Yeah, I like him too. From what we see, he's a very raw. He's a very raw potential person.
Raw.
Very,
but I
very
think
raw.
He's got a ton of potential. Sky's the limit.
Right. It's very reminiscent of a Giannis, but I'm not expecting him to reach that type of stardom.
Yeah, he's in that same mold, that kind of international player that came in very kind of, a lot of talent there, but they're just very raw and unrefined.
And was drafted at the same draft
Giannis
position
Siakam's another one.
He was also drafted at the same position as Giannis too. They will take him 15th. True. So the comparisons just keep going on and on and on.
Well, yeah, no, it's just so they have some stuff there, but then I also like Svi Mikhailuk.
Yeah,
there's no point.
That's how you say his name. Team. How do you say his name?
Svi Mikhailuk.
I'm still never calling him that. I'm just calling him Svi because that's the easiest thing for me to say.
Yeah, Svi Mikhailuk is how you say his name.
All right, cool.
There's no purpose for him to be on that team. He needs to be on a contender because that's what his skill set is. Because he can't do anything other than shoot threes. That's all he can do.
And there's certain teams right now that could really use that.
He shoots threes. That's it.
Yeah, there's certain teams out there that could really use that type of skill set. Even a Tony Snell type of guy. He should be on a playoff team right now.
Tony Snell is def on the Pistons.
Yeah, he is.
I completely forgot that guy. I watch a lot of Pistons games, and I just never noticed.
Yeah, because
he's such a non-existent player.
But he does small things though.
You're right. He could absolutely help out a contender.
If granted the Milwaukee Bucks they got rid of him, but they kind of needed to. If he were to come back on that team, he would probably be a nice little piece on the bench if they needed an emergency guy to come in and guard a wing or something like that. He'd be a good guy to come in and have him do that.
Yeah, no, the Pistons, it's just, and don't forget, they still have Blake Griffin on that team.
But for how longer is the question?
Till the summer. I'd ship him out. I'd be surprised if he plays another game in Detroit.
Yeah, I can't see him playing another game.
They not screwed up, because there's really not a ton they could have done with him, but they didn't break their way. Now, his value when they trade him is going to be an all-time low.
Right, and especially with that, the bloated contract that he's on, too.
Yeah, he's got a bad contract. I think he's on the wrong side of 30. He's got bad knees. There's just not a lot to like right now with Blake Griffin. He hasn't played in a year.
Right, but when he did play last year, though, he was a monster.
He's phenomenal.
He had the best season of his career last year too. So it'd be a risk to take on. So if you were a team that needed a 4, like the Phoenix Suns, but I'm not saying I don't want to trade for Blake Griffin because I do not want to trade for Blake Griffin. if a team needs a 4, like that'd be a good option to like maybe look into if you're willing to take that risk. They're just they're just a confusing franchise. I
They
don't
really
like.
are, and it makes no sense. It's kind of frustrating. Like, just figure it out. Like, I get running an NBA team is not easy, but it can't be this hard.
Right. Especially when they like I can't really talk trash because like my favorite team has been a pool of mediocrity for the past decade, so I can't really talk there. But like, I feel like the Suns have more of a direction than the Pistons.
The Suns definitely have a direction. The Pistons, I think, are just starting to find a direction, but they had a chance to get so many draft assets and some young players, and they screwed the entire thing up and wound up with Brandon Knight.
And Brandon Knight makes his glorious return back to Detroit because that's what we all wanted to see.
I hope he gets dunked on again.
No,
because
not
that is what the Pistons deserve.
That's what the
for how
Pistons
they handled
deserve.
the trade deadline.
All right, that's what the Pistons deserve. That's not what Brandon Knight deserves. Brandon Knight deserves so many more nicer things in life than that.
Yep. I wish him all the best, but it's just if anybody's going to be the sacrificial lamb for that team again, it's probably
It's gonna be Brandon Knight. It'll be Brandon Knight. Real quick before we wrap up, just a couple of questions to cap it off. Especially after what we've seen so far, who would you have as your most serious threat in the West? Because I mean, right now I think in the East it's easily Milwaukee, but if you had to put a gun to your head and choose a team to take home the Western Conference Finals, who would it be?
I would probably pick the Clippers or the Nuggets.
Really? Because I'm still sticking with my preseason prediction. I'm going Denver.
Either the Clippers or the Nuggets. I want to see. I want to see what it looks like in the playoffs because I feel like honestly a lot of nights the Clippers are just kind of like not phoning it in, but they have so much going on. Like Paul George and Kawhi are never on the floor at the same time. I feel like Pat Bev has been on and off a little bit with some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see him get healthy. But Denver is like you said, that's a tough place to play. It's they're kind of a wagon. They're super deep. I would have, if you had asked me like 2 months ago, I probably would have said the Jazz because they were really kind of cooking.
Yeah, they haven't cooled off.
They've since cooled off a
yeah.
lot, but Jordan Clarkson is still wicked fun to watch.
Yeah, he is. That man is a monster from 3. I think right now I was looking at the playoff picture and it's the playoff. If the season were to end today, the matchups would be the Lakers versus Grizzlies, and then you'd have the Nuggets versus the Mavericks. And then you would have the Clippers, Thunder, and Rockets, Jazz. So I feel like you'd probably have your top 4 teams advanced out of those, which would mean that the Lakers would be facing the Rockets. Oh God, that would be a pain watch. That would be awful to watch.
I kind of hope these standings hold because I'd be so excited to watch Clippers Thunder in the first round.
Yeah, that would be cool. Imagine if the Thunder pulled that off.
Series.
If the Thunder pulled that off behind Chris Paul, like Chris Paul just says "F you" to like every mainstream media person, just goes out of his way to destroy his old team.
That would be a real Clippers way to go out.
That would be the Clippers way to go
for
out.
For the Clippers, not for Paul.
Yeah, they still not reaching the conference finals.
I mean, there's not a bad team really in this Western Conference playoff picture. I mean, even like if the season were to end today, even that LA Memphis would at least be entertaining.
I still feel like Memphis could take a game out of that.
Oh yeah, no, I'd pick the Lakers obviously probably in 5, but
yeah, I feel like John.
I can totally see Memphis stealing a game.
So while we're on the topic of that, if there's a team that's most likely to take over that 8 seed, do you think Memphis keeps it, or do you think it's somebody else? As of right now, because I feel like the answer is going to change in like a week or 2.
Take it over. It'll probably be New Orleans. If you put a gun to my head and say choose, just because I think right now, New Orleans, they're starting to figure it out. They got Zion, who's just on a tear.
They're hot right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're just on a tear right now, and I think Portland. Not that they're terrible or anything, but I mean. Lillard's starting to break down. I mean, is he still out?
Yeah, he didn't play last night, but CJ had 41.
He's a little banged up dealing with an injury. So if they can survive the time that Lillard's out, then I'd feel a lot better about Portland maybe taking that 8 seed. But for me right now, it's between Memphis and New Orleans.
And the funny thing is, like, between 1 and 13, there's no team that's out of the only 2 teams I'd say that are out of playoff contention right now are Minnesota and Golden State. Like those are the only two teams
Yeah,
that are
Phoenix is on the brink though. They're close.
Phoenix and Sacramento, they have
They're about
the
6
same.
back.
Yeah, they're about. I think after Phoenix is when they're like 5 back from
Yeah,
Memphis.
they're 5.5. So
But
Phoenix
Memphis is starting to
21
lose
games
too.
Back of Memphis, who's 15.5 of back of the 1 seed. So
And Memphis has lost, I think, their last couple too. They haven't. I don't think they've won a game out of the.
Memphis has lost their last 2. They're 6-4 over their last 10 though.
That's true, but they did lose Jaren Jackson too.
That's very true.
So if he's,
I mean, it's kind of a mess down there at the end.
yeah, because you don't, especially with the Trailblazers, you don't know when Joseph Nurkic is coming back and what type of impact he's gonna have on the team. Then you have New Orleans with Zion. Zion's starting to really figure things out, and so is the rest of the team. And then Sacramento and Phoenix are just kind of there because they're there. It's just it's a mess, but that's why we like the NBA, because the NBA provides craziness, and that's what we all want from the league. We want
Yeah, that's
crazy.
what we're here for.
We're here for the extra. We're here for the unexpected, because that's what we have to. We don't expect the unexpected, but we're supposed to.
And a lot of the times we get exactly what we thought we were gonna get.
And then there's a couple of times where we get something that we don't expect, and that's when we really relish in the glory of this league. Just this
And
league.
don't forget the times when we get something we don't expect, but we also don't want.
Oh yeah. Like, wait, I'm trying to think of like a very good example of that. Something that we don't expect, we don't. That'd be like Anthony Bennett being like the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah,
Be like something similar to that.
something like that.
But all right, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. We got a lot of good content, a lot of good stuff out of the way. Make sure you go check out some of our work over at tailgatesportsentertainment.com, over at hotstreaksports.net as well. Go check out Dave's podcast, In the Pain podcast. I'm on there as well. And I think that's right about it. We'll link the websites down below, Twitter's down below, all that fun jazz. And until next time, we'll see you later.